Thanks a lot for tuning into the Sean Hannity Show. My name's Joe Pagliarulo. Joe Pags in for Sean today. It's my honor to be with you the day before Thanksgiving. It's my honor to have my very good friend on, a guy you probably have heard of, a former captain with the Columbo crime family, Capo regime. It's Michael Franzese. Michael, how are you?
Joe, I'm great. Always great to be with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. You know, Michael and I became fast friends, and we've done a bunch of stuff online. We've done a bunch of stuff on my show. And you've got a couple of big projects coming out that I want people to know about. Number one is Mafia Democracy. It's your new book. You've got several books out now. Go to michaelfranzese.com and check out everything he writes. He's gone from mobster to pastor. We'll get into that a little bit here in the time that we have. But Mafia Democracy really does ring true because we're seeing a fascist feel from Washington, D.C., and even from City Hall in New York City, where you've got power and control is ruling the day. When you say Mafia Democracy, you're literally talking about our government acting like the mob, right?
No question, Joe. You know, I've never witnessed in my lifetime what this government is looking now. And for me, it's very Machiavellian. And, you know, Machiavelli on the street, he was kind of the patron saint of the mob. We did everything in a Machiavellian way. And I see our government acting exactly like that in so many ways. And I point that out, very strategically in the book, Joe. I mean, this is not a fluff piece. It's not I did a lot of research on this. I lived that life. I worked with politicians way back when. And what I'm seeing now, I never thought that I would see this type of ideology in our government, but it's happening today.
In the way that it's happening, do you see it the same way you remember planning things as a captain of a bunch of soldiers in the crime family? And what I mean by that is you guys sold a pretty good pitch to the community, to the news media. You guys pretended you weren't really what you were, and that facade worked for a really long time until like Giuliani came along and said, no, we could probably do something about this. But is it the same sort of thing, Michael? Let me tell you what you should think of me, but ignore what we're really doing.
Joe, let me tell you the Machiavellian ideology or philosophy, and that is that, you know, when you're in control and you're in power, what Machiavelli has said, you can do anything you need to do to maintain control. You can lie, you can steal, you can cheat, you could even kill, anything that you need to do. However, to the outside public, you must always appear to be upright, honest, and have integrity. That's our government. I hate to say it. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
You know, I love this country. I have kids and grandchildren that I want them to enjoy, you know, the freedoms that so many of us before them enjoyed. But what I'm seeing now, it's frightening. And that's how these people are acting. I've never seen such underhandedness. I've never seen such divisiveness in our nation. And, you know, it all starts from the top. When they start name calling each other and doing all of these things that they're doing, it goes down into the general public and into society. It starts from the top. And if these people would just act with some integrity and act honestly, I don't think we'd see the divisiveness that we see on the street today. And I really mean that.
Is it hard? It's Michael Franzese. Go to michaelfranzese.com, Franzese, michaelfranzese.com. Become part of his crew. Get his books. The new one is going to be available for pre-order very soon. It's not yet, right, Michael, but it will be very soon?
Yeah, just before Christmas, it'll be available for pre-order, yes.
Called Mafia Democracy. Go and make sure that you get to his website and find out exactly when it's coming out. Is it hard to do, or does it become second nature? And here's what I mean. You know what you're doing behind the scenes. You know what you have to look like you're doing to the public and to the media and so on. I mean, for God's sakes, you were producing movies while there was all sorts of racketeering and everything else going on behind the scenes. Is it easy, or does it become second nature?
It's second nature, Joe.
Oh.
Honestly, you know, when you have that kind of a mindset, it's really second nature to you. And it was to me on the street. I'm recognizing it now, you know, and obviously, like I said, I'm seeing it unfold in our government halls, and it's very disturbing to me. It really is. You know, people tell me all the time, you know, if the mafia was running the country, we would be in better shape. And I say, no, you don't want the mafia running the country. That's not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to have this is a republic where government is honest and upright, and they really do have integrity, and they do care about the people that elected them to office. And it's not that way. And I just don't understand how people don't see this. I don't get it.
Here's the thing that jumps out at me, and it's Michael Franzese, former Capo regime, the Columbo crime family in New York. What jumps out at me is, and you and I have talked about this a lot, the mob got mad when the government wasn't righteous. It's almost like you guys had a higher standard for the government. All right, you catch me, FBI, you do it on the up and up. You don't frame me. You do it legally. You got me. I'll put my hands out in front of me. But you're still mad about how your father was convicted, and you're convinced that he was framed. I mean, that there really is sort of a code within the life. You call it that life. The code is the government can get you as long as they do the right job. That's why you never really went after cops. You never really went after Rudy, although there was a conversation about it. You really did. If you have integrity and you got us fair and square, let's go, right?
No doubt, Joe. The way we looked at it, we were on one side, you were on the other. You do your job, you get us legitimately. We have no beef, we have no complaint. But if you frame us, if you stoop down to a street level and you're breaking the law, and even at times not only breaking the law, but creating criminal activity in order to nail somebody, we didn't appreciate that. And I don't think anybody should. What people don't understand, if you give the government an inch, they'll take a yard, and they'll never give it back. If you allow them to break the law to go after somebody that they really want to get, well, that could apply to anybody. They don't like somebody. Okay, we're going to do whatever we have to do to get them, to put them away. We know that happens, Joe. I'm sure you know that happens. Look,
it does.
What happened in the 4 years of Trump's presidency, if people didn't see what was really going on, whether you like Trump or not, it doesn't matter. But when you saw what was going on with all this Russiagate and everything else, it was criminal activity that was going on in the halls of justice. I mean, that's the bottom line.
We know for a fact that Russiagate was fake. The dossier was fake. The impeachments were based on nothing. But a guy won. A guy got a position the Mafia Democracy didn't like. And again, there were Republicans who were against him too. This wasn't just a Democrat versus Republican thing. This was big government mafia swamp versus an outsider who said, hey, why don't we do this thing that we thought we were going to do as a republic? And that's really that's the bottom line, right? I mean, the swamp monsters come from all colors.
Oh, no doubt about it. While we're talking about that, I just have to mention this whole Rittenhouse case. Joe, not for anything. I didn't know much about the case. I didn't follow it. But I get intrigued when I see, trials taking place on television. Obviously, my background, I'm interested in it.
Right.
And when you watch the trial and the evidence that was presented by the prosecution, and you before that had listened to mainstream media, you would have thought this kid was, the devil incarnate, white supremacist, went there to shoot everybody, cross state lines with guns that were illegal. It was absolutely untrue, right. All false. When you looked at the evidence that was presented in this case, the jury came out with the right verdict, and people are still complaining about it. And I don't get it. I really don't understand why. What are they trying to do? What are people trying to accomplish in this country by spreading false information, misinformation, starting all this racial stuff? Joe, I'm telling you, I never thought in my lifetime I would see things, get to this level. I mean it.
Well, I'd say it's a great question, but I know that it's rhetorical because you know the answer. It's about power and control. It's about controlling the message, controlling the power, controlling the people, and then they can do whatever you want them to do, and they'll keep on voting for you. It's Michael Franzese, michaelfranzese.com. Get this book. It's on the way. It's Mafia Democracy, and I can't wait to read it, Michael, from cover to cover, and I think everybody's going to go out and get millions of copies. Get to michaelfranzese.com. Let's talk about the Mafia States of America. This is an historic sit-down between you and Sammy the Bull Gravano, who was the underboss for John Gotti in the Gambino crime family. What's interesting to me is that few people know that you knew Sammy because Sammy used to be in the Columbo family. I had no idea until you and I started talking about this. Were you guys friends? Did you know him? Did you hang out? Did you dislike him? What's the relationship there?
Sammy and I were not friends. I wouldn't consider us friends now. This sit down got kind of contentious. Sammy still feels he's the underboss in a way, and he acts a certain way, and I act a different way. So, I think it's historic in that it was a real sit down. It wasn't staged. It wasn't scripted. I think you can tell throughout that we didn't really care for each other that much. We have a whole different idea of Cosa Nostra and what it was about then, what it is now. And, Patrick Bet-David was in the middle of this. He hosted it. At times, it got very contentious between us. And I think people are going to enjoy seeing it because it's the real thing. There's a lot of stuff going on YouTube. But look, Sammy was a real guy. I was a real member of that life. We have a lot of differences in ideology and opinions, and I think it's all going to come out in this sit-down. people are gonna, they're gonna get an eyeful and an earful. I can tell you that.
The Mafia States of America. This is going to be a several-part series, and I've seen just snippets of it, and it's amazing. I cannot wait to sit down and enjoy this. There was at a point where you weren't sure you would do this, right? I mean, did you two? I can't imagine you originally said, "Yeah, let's sit down in the same room and have a piece of bread." I mean, I would imagine that it took some doing.
Yeah, because Sammy had said some things about me that weren't very nice, and I in turn said some things about him that I think were true. I mean, it's a matter of public record. So we didn't have any, love lost between the two of us. That was for sure. I didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it, but somehow they convinced us and we got together on it. But I can tell you this. I think you know this, but Rudy, obviously you do know it. Rudy played a part in this, and Chaz Palminteri was the host. They did a great job on it. I can tell you that, and I think people are going to be very intrigued with it. But we'll see what happens. It's coming out, I believe, December 3rd or shortly after that. You can go on MafiaStatesOfAmerica.com. I think it's a website, and people can buy it. It's 10 episodes. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Go to MichaelFranzese.com as well. It is the former copper regime of the Columbo crime family, Michael Franzese. Michael, you and I have been friends for a while. We hit it off right away. I've always thought about this when I see the older pictures of you and when I talk to you like we are right now, but I always forget to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up now, and I hope you take it as the compliment that I mean it. When I see the older pictures of you, there's something going on. And what I mean is there's a look on your face like you're telling yourself an inside joke. Does that make sense? And like now, I find you to be serious, cerebral, funny, great to be around, lovely to talk to. But back then, it's almost like you were telling me, there's something going on. You're telling yourself a joke, or you know that you're tricking the person that's taking the picture that you're talking to. Is there anything to that, or am I just misperceiving it?
No, I think you're right about that, Joe. Look, when I was in that life, I would tell people I wasn't in that life. And there was no mafia. There is no Cosa Nostra, and that was the standard line. Standard mob denial stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you always maybe got that smirk on your face and you're getting something over on someone. I guess, I never thought of it that way, but I guess you can certainly perceive it that way because that's in your mind at that point. And of course, now things are different and my whole thought process is different, hopefully a lot better than it was back then.
No, it's a whole lot better. And your guidance for me and for anybody that you touch is amazing. I found you look like the same guy. It's obvious you are the same guy, but there's a little something different happening behind the eyeballs. Like you're hiding it and you can't get me to tell you what it is that I'm hiding. Now you just up front, you're honest and you're a great guy. Do me a favor and tell Sean's audience, you and I have talked about this before, but what was it? Maybe give me a minute on that moment that you said, I got to walk away. And did you know that you would survive it? Because a lot of people don't think there's any way you could have really walked away, Michael, and you'd still be alive today.
Well, Joe, there was a point in time when I realized that, the life was over. I had met a young girl that's now my wife for 37 years. I knew if I was going to be with her, I didn't want to put her through the agony that my family went through and every other family I've ever remembered that I know in that life. It's not a life that's conducive to a good family life. And I just said, aside from that, Rudy Giuliani had really, really used the RICO statute very well. He was putting a lot of guys away. A lot of guys were becoming informants. And I said, this life is really in trouble. And, did I think I was going to make it? Look, I always said to myself, I wasn't mad at anybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I wasn't looking to put people in prison. So I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot and see if I can make it. I knew I was going to have some trouble. I knew it wasn't going to be taken well. I knew my father would be upset with me, Persico, my boss. But I said, look, I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'll be a little bit manipulative with the government, maybe, and things like that. But, I'm a risk taker at ways, Joe. And I figured, I think this is going to work out. And ultimately, I'll be honest with you, I think God had a different plan and a purpose for my life. And that's why I'm here and able to enjoy freedom and my family. And, I've been very blessed, very blessed.
And we're blessed to have you on the program. It's MichaelFranzese.com. Go to that website, become part of his crew, pre-order the book as soon as you can, Mafia Democracy, and also the Mafia States of America, this series that's coming out. And it's going to be a big December for Michael Franzese and that entire crew. You're going to want to find out more about this guy because he's a pastor now. He's a born-again Christian. He's left that life behind. I want to ask you one last quick question, Michael. I maybe have 30 seconds if you don't mind. Have you
Sure.
sat down in your most private moments and thought to yourself, why are so many people so interested in this life? As I said, you've got fake mobsters and fake mafia guys, and some real ones too, obviously, who are all over YouTube and everything else. What's the intrigue?
You know, Joe, it's definitely the media. It's definitely Hollywood. You know, shows like Sopranos and Bronx Tale and Goodfellas and Gotti and all of that. You know, they've made this life bigger than life in many, many ways. And you know, guys like John Gotti and all these characters. And you know, it's amazing. I've traveled all over the world, Joe, and I can't believe how enamored and intrigued people are with Cosa Nostra more than any other criminal group out there. It's really about Mafia, Cosa Nostra. There's just a certain, you know, allure that it has, and it's kind of hard to explain. But again, I think Hollywood and the media have played it up to a degree that people are just fascinated by it, and you know, that's the only thing I can answer.
It's
the only way I
amazing.
can answer.
It's certainly amazing. Go to michaelfranzese.com, sign up, be part of the crew. Mafia Democracy, Mafia States of America. Continued success, Michael. Thank you for your friendship, and I appreciate you coming on.
Joe, I appreciate you more than you know, and thanks for having me. And we'll do it again whenever you're ready.
I hope it'll be very soon. Thank you very much. Michael Franzese, go to his website. Your thoughts on this, 1-800-941-SEAN. Back on the Sean Hannity Show after this.